Hey guys, Flint Holbrook here with TruckSpy. Welcome to our, I don't even know what number we are on now for webinars. I think it's number 5 or 6. We're going to talk about today automating your business with technology. Last time we had driver recruiting. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to get back in to managing your business, automation. Big lesson so far is if you're driving a truck, you should stop. And so now let's take that a step further and say, what tools should I have in my business to make it run smoothly, predictably, be able to automate my accounting, be able to take care of that huge stack of papers on my desk automatically. So just kind of a couple of ground rules before I introduce our guests. On the right side of your screen, you've got polls, handouts, and the chat. We're going to get us kicked off here with a poll real quick. So are you completely happy with the level of automation in your business? And this is just like a really simple yes or no question, and we're going to get probably a lot of no's. I'd be surprised if you're on this call and you're just like thrilled with how automated your business is right now. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. I want to first just like take care of some basics in technology before I introduce our guest, because stuff that I want to take off the table for today's webinar. You should be using email. You're probably not here if you're not using email, because you wouldn't have got the marketing for this webinar, or this whole series of webinars for that matter. You should be like using stuff like Excel. After the driver recruiting webinar 2 weeks ago, I emailed out our driver funnel. Like if that was foreign to you, opening up Excel, I suggest that you get to work and learn Excel. Like it's really hard to run a business if you don't have some of these really basic tools at your disposal. Calendars are another thing. Cloud storage. Tim sent me a whole list before the call, and we can distribute that afterwards. But there's like a whole lot of non-negotiables in this day and age when it comes to running a business and using technology. So we want to try to like steer away from that discussion today. We want to really focus on the higher level stuff. So how do you actually automate processes inside your line haul operation with tools that are specific to FedEx Linehaul or specific to trucking for that matter? So I want to start off, I'll introduce our guests. So we've got John Haldi with HaldiTech. He has done some really interesting stuff around ingesting your settlement statement, giving you analytics. I'm going to let him give the whole spiel in just a second. And then we have Tim. Tim, this is his third webinar in a row, so he's kind of my veteran guest at this point. But he owns mygroundforce. He is ingesting your settlement statement as well, but also trying to automate some of your other business processes like recruiting and accounting and a few other things, kind of like an ERP software. So I think at this point what would be helpful, and you guys probably know who I am, Flint, TruckSpy. We automate your IVMRs. We can also do a whole lot of other stuff. Just really quick, in case you don't know, before I have each of these guys tell us about their tools. If you've been under a rock, we can do your scheduled maintenance. So we can take your miles from your IVMR. You tell us, I want to change my oil every 30,000 miles. We'll track that for you. We also can track your minimum wage compliance for your FedEx contract. We now have an integration to mygroundbiz to help you check fuel exceptions and ensure that the trucks running or that FedEx thinks are running are actually in your ELD, which is a big deal. So we have a lot of stuff that we can do outside of IVMRs. We're soon to launch a fuel program. You guys will get all of our marketing if you haven't already. So I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole of what we do, because you probably already know. So let's start it off. I think John, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about what you guys have built and specifically how it helps our audience.
So we got into this game about 6 years ago. A good friend of mine bought into a line haul operation and called me and said, I love this business, but we are in the Stone Ages here at the operation I just bought. And we started looking at it, and we realized there's a wealth of information in the settlement files. And you don't have to just get the PDF version of it, which I'm sure most of you grab. You can actually grab it in a machine readable format, a CSV or an Excel file. So we started digging through that and found out that there's a lot of things in there that number one are wrong, that FedEx gets wrong, depending on the terminal manager. They can put in wrong information. They can leave out trips you're supposed to get paid for. You might not get paid for fuel you should have gotten paid for. So we started finding missing money in the settlement files that way, letting the computer do the work. And then we started looking at that and saying, wow, there's so much stuff here. We could start doing some analysis about, fuel efficiency, truck utilization, driver utilization. When you need to go into your contract negotiations, if you've got hard data that you've mined out of this and said, hey, we're doing this many miles, this driver's doing this, it gives you a lot of leverage when you talk to FedEx. And once we started getting that stuff, we started looking at ways that we could automate some really tedious processes, because everybody wants more money on the top line. Everyone wants more money on the bottom line. But I haven't met a contractor who says, wow, I've got nothing but free time in my day. I could go do this whenever I want. Everybody wants to find more hours in their day. So we're also looking for ways to give that other form of currency, time, back to the contractors.
Yep. Yeah, and that's time is the most valuable resource. Time and energy, guys. If you haven't figured that out from the series so far, that is your most valuable asset. So, thanks for that, John. Tim, if you don't mind, I think you've got some pages. I'm going to go ahead and pull those up. Are you ready for those, Tim?
Sure.
Perfect. Tim, tell us what you guys are focused on.
So by now, you guys know me having been on these webinars a couple of times, you know that I'm a line haul contractor. I've come from the high-tech world. I spent a long time doing that, and I was a little bit taken aback by the lack of tooling available to run this business whenever I started doing it. And I looked around and I talked to lots of people, and I just found that there was nothing that really did what I felt like we needed to be able to do. Even just trying to compare revenue this quarter of this year versus the same quarter last year, kind of basic financial analysis is really, really hard without doing an awful lot of Excel work and keep punching it at yourself. And there was really no need to do all that. As John's already pointed out, we get a lot of that information in machine readable format. So in the absence of having anything that was available on the market, as a contractor, I decided to work with some other contractors that I know, and I just built a tool. So we have a lot of input from contractors on what they felt like they wanted to do to automate their business. And we have used the state-of-the-art robots that are available out there now. And we essentially have a singular focus on automating a line haul business. And I am singularly focused on automating my line haul business. And by doing that, it will help you automate your business. So this is a solution built by contractors for contractors. It's world-class automation. It's state-of-the-art robots. We're using SQL databases and all sorts of pretty complicated algorithms to bring world-class tools to a line haul contractor without you having to go find it yourself and without you having to pay the exorbitant money it would take to do it. And the goal is to completely automate the back office. And particularly in light of the new TSPA, which I'm sure everybody's steamed about, you need to be in a position to find ways to flatten the cost curve. And so one of the ways you can do that is automate your back office so you can grow your business without having to add people in the office to process all sorts of different paperwork that's there. So some of the things that we've automated, if Flint, you can switch to the next one.
No problem.
So I'm not going to read this whole list. Flint is going to send to you the information from both John and I on the tools that we have available. But I have a little bit different focus than John. He and I know each other. We live in the same town. He's probably better on the financial side in terms of understanding the accounting piece than I am. But what we have focused on at mygroundforce is fully automating everything you do as a business owner in your business. So from automatically, you can you can set up mygroundforce to use the robots to download your settlement. You never have to go to My Biz account again to download a settlement. We'll do it for you. We'll change your password in My Biz account automatically, so you never have to worry about not getting it downloaded. We run all sorts of automated routines to generate payroll. updated key performance indicators, regular dashboards, a range of other things. Even, and on Monday, we'll come out with a new dot release, as we say in the software world, and we'll be able to fully automate the submission of monthly maintenance reports. So I have done all the things that you have to do, and I understand what pain it is, and the bigger you get, the harder it is. And so what we've tried to do is automate all of that. And you'll see a list here of the things that we've done in this version of mygroundforce to help put time back in your day. So if you get out of the truck, but all you do is do admin, like you would probably have to do now, you wouldn't, even though you would be helping your business, that's not a valuable way to spend your time. So what you need to do is get out of the truck and automate your business processes so you can focus on growing your business. And that's what we're trying to help you do. If you go to the next slide, those of us who've been in the corporate world for a long time, we've learned a lot of pretty neat things on how to analyze your business. And one of the things you do is a SWOT analysis to understand what is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to your business. And I believe, and I've validated this belief with other contractors, that the biggest threat to our business, other than this latest TSPA, I'll give you a little commercial there, is, if you have a driver do something stupid and kill somebody, then you're going to get a lot of help from DOT and from FedEx coming in and investigating you. And what they're really looking for is what I would call lack of institutional control. And unless you have a lot of admin staff, it's probably going to be easy for them to find some non-compliance. And so for my business, and I know it will be valuable to your business, in the next release of mygroundforce, we're taking automation to another level, and we're going to automate the life cycle for a driver from cradle to grave. It will, everything that a driver, all interactions with a driver from the time he checks in until he checks out, we'll be able to, we're going to build that into an app from mygroundforce. And we'll talk about that more in the future. But just so you know, we are focused on continuously automating everything that you have to do in your business. And I know what it is because I'm trying to get it from me. No, I'm #1 customer at mygroundforce, so don't think I'm not. And so essentially, this is just a summary page. It tells you what we're trying to do. And there's the website and the way to get more information.
Perfect. And I'll be sure we'll email these slides out after the call. And just, I mean, Tim, tell us, you're currently in kind of a pre-release beta, right? So John, your tool's in production.
Yep.
So customers can sign up, they can create an account with you, they can go live. Tim, as a pre-release beta, what are kind of the steps customers go through, or how do they get access to this tool right now? And I guess, what can they expect from the tool? Because I know that you're still working stuff out, right?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's a good release. Essentially, it's a release schedule question. Right now, where we are is we're on the 2nd version of the software. We'll have the 3rd version out on Monday. And on September 1st, we'll have the software available for general availability. So you'll be able to sign up as a paying customer on September 1st. What we're doing now is, beginning in the 1st of July, we put out a version of the software to some pre-selected beta testers, pretty tech savvy, pretty large contractors, and they're helping us vet the software and make improvements and debug it so that once we go general availability, GA as we say, then you won't have to worry about, hey, I didn't format the date right in this cell or whatever. So we're working really hard across a half a dozen different contractors. There's probably 300 tractors in the beta right now, and we're trying to stretch the software and make sure that it works. Well, it does work, but we're trying to make sure we debug it. And in the process, we're also getting feedback from beta testers on other things, other features that they think are important. I'll just give you one quick example. We all get this constant request, and I had one today from previous employees who are working somewhere else or wanting to get a job somewhere else, and you have to do an employment verification. Well, out of mygroundforce, you'll be able to do that automatically. You'll be able to log into that particular employee's page and submit a compliant work verification right from the software. So that'll save people a lot of time. That's going to save me some time. It was a really good idea that I didn't think of. So that's kind of where we are. It's going
Yep.
well. The robots run great, and we'll be ready for a release, a general availability release on September 1st.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. And that's not very far away. So what I think is really interesting here, and I was a contractor. That's how I got started. I think I don't know. I'd like to claim that I started one of the first tools kind of exclusively for FedEx contractors to automate their business. At least if there were some prior, I was unaware of them. And what you're hearing from both of these guys is, contractor experience, going out and building a tool that solves their own needs and therefore solving your needs. And, this isn't like Microsoft, right? It's not like we're building an Outlook email box that's going to get used by 150 million Americans. Like, these are specialized tools that help you in your business. And I got to say, I mean, John, I'm sure that you've dealt with this. We deal with this every day. Tim is probably about to deal with this. He probably already is. But support is a really big deal. So when you're out shopping for software vendors, whether it's Linehaul specific vendors like we're talking about on this call, or it's like vehicle inspections, Whip Around, for example. A lot of people use Whip Around, great tool. If it's OmniTrax, if it's People's Net, like whatever it is, think about how this fits in your business, right? So support is really important. And unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, as FedEx contractors, you don't have a whole lot of time, and it's not okay for your software vendor to get back to you in 2 weeks with a support article, right? Like you're going to need a higher level of support than that. And you are also going to need to build business processes around the tools that you buy. So if I go out tomorrow and I subscribe to Whip Around, but I never go in there and set up my inspections, or I never train my drivers on how to download the app and do an inspection, I'm shooting myself in the foot, right? Like I'm going to have zero success from that software implementation. So I think what would be really useful is, John, Tim, for you guys to comment on, how are you handling support? How are you able to support contractors? And then second, what business processes does a contractor need to have or be willing to build in order to fully get the value out of the tool that you built?
Sure. You mind if I jump in, Tim, for a moment?
Go for it. Yep.
Go ahead, buddy.
So I think as by way of background, you need to understand something about software companies generally that are targeting a small market. And in the grand scheme of software, FedEx Linehaul contractors is a small market. It's a very specific niche. I believe currently there's probably about 15,000 trucks total in the entire FedEx ground world in the linehaul space. So when a company like ours gets involved in that, first off, we don't have what we call domain expertise. We don't know how a contractor operates. And when we start talking to folks like y'all, we start to learn a lot about that, and we try to translate it into the tools that we can build to tailor to what folks do. And Tim, I'll interrupt me, but as we start to talk to more contractors, we start to realize that the first person who told us what they do told us they do X, Y, and Z, and that's the way to do it. And the next person's going to say, but we do A, B, and C, and that's the way to do it. And then the next person does X, Y, A, and D. And so we start to learn how diverse different operations are. And with Tim, as you're going through beta, I'm sure you've got some scars where you thought you had it pegged and someone said, no, we do it this way instead. I'm not seeing a nod, but I'm guessing you've experienced that.
For sure. And you cannot build a software solution that's customized to every customer. That's really impossible to do, and it's even harder to support. So what we've tried to do from a payroll perspective is build a rules-based system and create the rules that allow contractors to pay a number of different ways. And then in the payroll report itself, if they have some custom pays or extra payments that they like to make for Sirius Radio, I heard one, and then we pay monthly safety bonus. You can program all that. So we built some flexibility in the system for you can program a number of different special occurrences, and you can always add a manual field as well if that's what you choose to do. So I think it works pretty well from a flexibility standpoint, but from a support perspective, which is a great question that Flint put out there. It's really important. First thing you want to do is try to eliminate the problems to the point that your customers don't need support, or you can self-enable support. So we really focused on that. If you go to the mygroundforce.com website and go to My Ground Force Academy, then you'll see the user manual there. And it's got pictures and all sorts of stuff in there to try to help you understand exactly how to use the software. So you might be able to self-solve some of your problems. When we go live in September, we'll have chat bots. We'll have, we already have a support desk that's supporting the beta testers. We have, there'll probably be 12 hours a day during the normal working hours, including the West Coast. We'll have support available and people who understand the software and how to help you with the problems. So you'll be able to get quick support from us from the standpoint of being able to solve whatever issues you might have in the software. For a bigger contractor, there's going to be a lot of information that needs to get put in the software. If you want to fully automate your business, you can't really do that until you put all the information in. And we've tried to make that as simple as possible, but that could end up being a challenge. So we will have a support program in which you can, you can pay us a little bit to kind of do your onboarding for you. So that'll take the load off to help you get on the software. So there are a lot of things that we're trying to do that I'm sure John's already been through on how to help customers bring this automation capability to their business.
I agree with Tim, but I would add to that to also understand if you've ever worked with something like Gmail or Microsoft and you get frustrated because it's not doing what you're doing, you can call them all you want. You're not going to get someone on the phone. As small companies, not only do we want to be responsive, but we want that feedback because that's how we learn what works for your business and we improve it. At this point, we're working with probably about 50 contractors, and all of that feedback has gone into improving our system. And I think one of the things you can take away when you see systems like Tim's or ours or Flint's is that you can say, all right, enough people have talked to these software folks that they've started to figure out what is the best way to do these things. And you can look at what the software does for you. And if you're not doing them the same way, sometimes it means you should step back and say, maybe they've got a better way of doing this because they've talked to enough folks. I mean, I've heard from lots of contractors, and this is a segue to something I think, Flint, you want to talk about. There's not enough opportunity for line haul contractors to get together and share expertise. That's why you're doing these webinars. I think you've got something to share with us later about that. But software vendors, they're a great resource to understand what they're doing because I get to talk to a lot of your peers and I get to understand what they needed to do. And we get to bring technology folks that maybe you couldn't afford in your operation into the mix to build things that work for you. And that's what Tim's doing too. So remember that when you think about support, it's not just call when you have a problem. It's call when you want to suggest things. Become a partner in the development for us because that's how we make it better for you.
Yeah, I'll echo that point. It is hugely beneficial. I mean, if you're a TruckSpy user, like we started with a very simple out of the box, here's what it does, and here's all it does, right? We're going to make you an IVMR. If you don't like that the weekend's on Sunday, sorry, this is how we're going to do it, right? And so through feedback from customers, we continue to evolve and offer a better product, a better experience at a better cost, or at a better value. Value is really the key word because sometimes prices go up, but you get a lot more for the money. And if you as a customer aren't talking to us and telling us your needs, saying this didn't work for me, could we do it that way, or whatever the situation is, we are not able to provide you the most value possible. And then along with that, just like John said, consider modifying your business processes. And I don't want to sit here and say, well, you need to do it our way or the highway, right? But to some extent, we've all put a ton of thought and work into these tools. And the goal is to make you more efficient, to make your business better, to make you more profitable. And so look, just like John said, take a step back, say, well, here's how we're doing it. Here's how other people are doing it. Do a little bit of a deep dive, and let's update the business process. There's this old saying, like, a farming family, dad goes out and plants corn every year, son grows up, he goes out and plants corn every year. His son, so now the grandson, says, wait a second, why do we always plant our corn on the 15th of March? And the answer is, well, that's just how it's always been done, right? And so, like, let's challenge that a little bit, and let's find better ways to run our business. And Tim mentioned this new TSP contract and how little bit of revenue rate increase we got from this. And all that screams is you have to manage your business more efficiently. You have to find tools and ways to take time and cost out of your business and be more profitable at the same or slightly increased rate. And look, John and Tim are providing one way to do that. We provide a way to do that. Whip Around provides a way to do that. Google Sheets provides a way to do that. Like, there are a ton of tools out there, and not every tool is a fit for every business, and not every business is a fit for every tool. And so you need to look at your business and your processes and say, here's where we're spending a lot of time, right? For us, I'm driving around to 7 terminals and collecting paper IVMRs, and then I'm having to clean them up and turn them in, then they're always wrong, right? Like, this is a stumbling block in our business. We're wasting time, we're wasting energy, we're wasting money. So let's find a tool, let's find a way to automate that process. And that's what you're hearing John and Tim say today. So they found that this settlement statement, are you getting paid correctly? Are you running payroll correctly? Are you recruiting or onboarding and keeping proper HR records? Are you doing all the CYA stuff correctly? And these tools, while automation is great and like all your data is someplace and the report's automatic and whatnot, the other kind of unseen benefit of this is it kind of forces you into a process. Like, for us, it's, maybe every Tuesday morning you get your IVMRs and hey, I need to send those on to FedEx. And without that email hitting your inbox every week, like, you may have a million other things going on, and all of a sudden that's a scattered, unorganized process. So you'll find that software can provide this huge amount of value in your business, but you not only have to invest in it from a dollar perspective, but also from a time and energy setup, build the business process around it perspective.
And I would add to that.
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Sorry, Tim, please, if you want.
No, I was just going to say that's really the approach that we take in mygroundforce, is we're really trying to create a word that's not used around FedEx ground contractors too much, but workflow management. So we're essentially trying to create specific workflows and make it very easy for you to enable that workflow and then automate it so that you don't have to spend time overseeing it. And you just deal with the outputs and the management of that. So that's the concept. But there are a lot of things that are valuable in these tools. First of all, I'm a TruckSpy user, and that tool saved me $40,000 a year. So to raise this price now that I'm giving.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was just thinking. Yep.
So I mean that it is that valuable to me, because it took a full-time employee, for as many trucks as I have, it took a full-time employee to make sure I had my IVMRs correct. And we used automation. We were using some Excel automation to help with that, and it still took a lot of time. So
but Tim, what was your experience? And John, I know that you've got a thought to throw in here, but Tim, when you signed up and you became a TruckSpy customer, and I just, I'm wanting to, I guess I'm leading you into this answer a little bit, but you didn't just flip the switch and say, check, IVMRs are done, right? You still have to open them up every week and scroll through them and say, does this feel approximately right? But what you don't have to worry about is, did the driver somehow miraculously go from Texas to Kansas without going through Oklahoma?
Yeah, so we had to create a different kind of workflow. Right now, we're not actually creating IVMRs and submitting them and ourselves from the standpoint of scanning the documents, et cetera. But now we review what comes in. So our workflow has changed, we know what we did, and we know what we typically see in our IVMRs. And so then we look for that. And on occasion, we'll find a problem where an ELD didn't do something right or whatever. And then we correct that. But the process of producing IVMRs and getting them to FedEx has been dramatically streamlined. So what used to take 35, 40 hours a week is, takes 8 hours a week now, or less, typically less. And so that's what John and I are talking about here. We're not going to solve no one can go in your brain and pull information out and put it in a computer software. You have to engage with the program as the user. And at least from a mygroundforce perspective, we have tried to make that as easy as possible. And then do all the work for you and let you know if we did the work, or if something happened and we didn't do the work, we weren't able to. We notice you in both cases, right? But there's other benefits to operating your business and getting your processes under control. You do save a lot of time, which is going to make you more profitable because you can spend your time doing other things and managing your business more tightly. But there's some other things that come with the benefit of a tool like John's or mine. So first of all, you don't think about it much, but in the corporate world, we spend a lot of time on succession planning, on business continuity planning. And you typically have huge documents that describe everything that you do from a business continuity standpoint. So if something happens, you can keep running the business, right? And so if you're storing all your data on your wife's desktop in the basement, your business continuity plan is not very good.
Or if it's in your head.
Yeah, and that's even worse. So, so you have to find a way to get your data protected. And in this environment, in a cyber insecure world, you're subject to ransoms and all other kinds of things if you're not thinking about that in advance. So in our company, we store all our key information in the cloud. So it's all there. We can always get to it either through a smartphone, laptop, desktop, and it's protected. And then from the standpoint of mygroundforce, we're using the Microsoft Azure cloud, which has never been hacked, or at least that they know of. So it's extremely cyber secure. So from a standpoint of having your payroll records that you have to produce and to subscribe to a FedEx compliance audit and prove that you're doing things the way that you're supposed to do, we're going to store those weekly payroll records in the cloud behind the most secure fence that can be found or available to your average small business like we all operate. So, we're not FedEx Ground or FedEx Corporate, who's a Fortune 50 company and 70 billion in revenue. We can't go do the things that they do, and they made some terrible cybersecurity mistakes on the FedEx side. So these capabilities that you get from Flint's system and John's system and my system, you add some resiliency to your business. And when you have a business, when you have a business continuity plan and such that you are making sure that everything you do is protected, then your business is also more valuable. We talked about a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago now, in one of these webinars, that the purchase price of a business always includes a risk premium. And so what you try to do is operate your business in a way that's more predictable, more documented, and it reduces the risk premium in your business and makes your business more valuable. So these tools have a value in saving you time and money, but they also have value in adding enterprise value to your company if you use them like you should. And so a company that's going to come by you and you're using TruckSpy or HaldiTech or mygroundforce, you can say, well, here's our workflow. This is how we do business. Here's how we keep our records. Here's how we store it. Our records are retained for 3 to 5 years, depending on the workflow. And anything you want to know, I can get to you in 2 minutes by going in the system and getting it for you. Well, your business is worth more now. It's a real business. It's not run on the kitchen table in a steno pad. So that's what these tools enable you to do. By the way, they're not for free. John gets paid. I will get paid. Flint gets paid for these tools, and they're incredibly expensive to develop. So to buy the kind of robot capability that you're going to get from mygroundforce, it would cost you a ton of money if you wanted to do it yourself. Trust me on that. So you're buying access to world-class capability from any of the three of us for what amounts to pennies on the dollar, but in the value to your business will far outweigh any subscription fee that you have to pay. And I know that sounds like a sales pitch, but it's an absolute fact.
Well, John, I think you can probably give some really good commentary here, right? Because you and I have had these conversations around pricing, and the reality is that we're serving a relatively small niche, but we're doing it really well, and that warrants a lot of times a higher price. So people, and I'll talk to customers on the phone, new customers that'll say, "Oh, what do you mean it's $10 a month per truck? I pay $3 a year for my, whatever it is, whatever the service is, my email, my Outlook email or whatever." And the thing to think about is, yeah, but Microsoft is marketing that email to 150 million people. It's a one size fits all solution, right? And like, that's not the reality that you're seeing around this table. We have to have very specialized capabilities, very specialized support in order to do a good job for our customers. John, did I nail that?
You did, and I would just add, to give people an understanding of what our world looks like, because we got a pretty good idea of what a line haul world looks like. If we're able to get 10% as a software company of the line haul contractor market, that's about 1,500 trucks, and our base price is $15 per month per truck. So if we can get 10%, which is a great piece of the market for a software company, we're looking at approximately $22,000, I think, per month. 1,500 trucks times $15. So we as a company have to survive on revenue of about $250,000 a year with 3 people. And I don't know if you know what programmers cost, if you ever tried to hire one, but 10% of the market's a home run for any software company. And this is people doing it because they're passionate about it and trying to do right. So when we hear people push back on price, I wish there was 100,000 line haul trucks out there, because then 10% of the market would be 10,000 trucks and we'd be talking about something else. But because we're targeted specifically to what y'all do, we can't do what Whip Around does. Whip Around has a total market of 1.5 million trucks on the road. So they can offer their stuff at $5. And I don't know, Tim, if you come up with pricing yet, but it's tough because you're going to get pushback from folks who are like, why would I spend money on this? And so you have to balance, like, how do you justify that spend, and also keep in balance how we survive. It's a
and for us. And the other side of that, from the contractor's point of view, and when you go out, and I think I already said this, but when you go out and buy software, before you make that investment, don't just pull the trigger and then walk away, right? Like, you've got to invest. The dollars are like the smallest part of that investment. The biggest part of the investment is your time and energy and your business processes to actually make it work long term, and you'll realize huge savings over time. But up front, there's a lot of work that has to be done in order to automate, and that's just pure and simple.
I want to add on something both of y'all said, just to put it into practical terms, because we've talked to folks who have experienced this. Let's say you've got 10 runs, right? And it's you and maybe one manager, one admin person, and you're both working 60, 70 hours a week to keep everything going, dealing with payroll, dealing with safety, dispatching, and everything else. And you're kind of at wit's end, and peak season's coming up, and you're almost burnt out. This is a very common story in the line haul world. And then you get a phone call that should be a hurrah moment. The terminal manager says, "You've been pegged. We've got 4 extra runs for you." And you hang up the phone and you look at the person you work with every day and you're like, how on earth could we possibly do it? Well, now roll back the video camera a year ago and somebody said, look, that payroll thing that takes you 6 hours every Wednesday, we could turn it into 30 minutes. And you thought, why would I bother doing that? Everything's working fine now. Well, there's 5.5 hours right there. And that thing that makes sure your fuel reimbursement is coming in, that you do with a ruler and going through every line of the PDF, and it only takes you an hour and a half, they can do it in 30 seconds. Well, why would I do that? Everything's working fine. And you add these things up and you realize we could be working 30 hours a week and have the slack to take the gift from the gods, thank you, COVID, of 4 free runs, organic growth to go to 14 trucks. All we got to do is finance the trucks now. But instead, you're cringing at the thought of how on earth are we going to find the time to hire drivers, get them through the FedEx system, do the payroll. We're at wit's end already. And this is where using technology intelligently and thoughtfully sets you up for high growth things. Because I guarantee you, the guys who have 50 trucks, or Tim, what do you got, 60 now?
Yeah.
You didn't start with 60, right? You started and you figured out how to make this thing scalable. And that's how the big boys got there, is they started smaller and they figured out how to squeeze every minute of their day out of that they could. And that set them up so that when they had an opportunity to buy some runs on the cheap or get given runs even better by FedEx, they were able to absorb that growth and handle it.
Yeah, that's exactly, John just described the philosophy of mygroundforce. That's the vision that I have for the tool, and therefore it's designed from the ground up to be that. And I go through everything that I do in my company, and believe me, with 60 tractors, there's very few things that you have to do in a line haul company that I don't have to do. So we have looked at every one of those pieces of the business, and we've automated it. So my vision that I want to have in my business is I can log into a tool every morning and I can run my business from one login. And at mygroundforce, we're going to be integrated with TruckSpy. You'll be able to go right into Flint's tool right from mygroundforce. And we've already done discussions on how we share data back and forth with TruckSpy, because he's got a lot of great data in there. We have a lot of great data. So we're going to try to have a tool for you where you can run your business from the mygroundforce login. And right when you log in, you get all these dashboards that are pushed right to you. So the concept of looking for financial reports and trying to go to an Excel spreadsheet and asking what would it look like if I did this, what would do if that all takes time. So I'm like, I don't want to spend time on that. I want to just log in and see what they say. Okay, and then payroll is going to be fully automated. And then I'm going to look at my payroll report, and it's going to have John Smith's line item is highlighted in red. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that John Smith has an exception. So you need to go to the exception report and fix that line haul exception. And once you do all the line haul exceptions, you can hit a button and the robot will go put them in my biz account for you, create the report for you that you need to send to FedEx. And someday in continued conversations with Flint, we'll provide automatically for you the GPS information that you need to provide to FedEx, so that we can dramatically reduce the pain on how you handle line haul exceptions. And so we've tried to take that approach that John described into every part of what goes on in a line haul business and try to automate it. Man, automating monthly maintenance reports for me will save me tens of thousands of dollars a year, because you have to do them one at a time and print them and scan them and email them, and we're going to generate them all at one time for you.
So Tim, along the lines of maintenance, I'm just curious from both of you guys, and we've talked a lot about kind of how each of you are looking at automating different pieces of the business. What are some other tools out there that, Tim, that you found useful in your business, John, that you've heard of other customers of yours recommend? And I mentioned Whip Around. There's obviously the big ELD guys, drive cameras. Matter of fact, I'm going to put up the link right now. We're going to talk about drive cameras on our next session specifically. So I want to kind of stay away from that topic. Let me put that out. So if you haven't register for our drive cam discussion. We're going to talk about managing your drive cams, different systems, how to coach drivers, all that good stuff. We've got two great guests. But what other tools have you guys heard of or used that are working really well for line haul contractors?
Well, I'll take that one and go real quick. There's things that take time that we have found little tools along the way to help. For instance, something as simple as having an 800 number allows me to control all the calls that come into the company from FedEx or drivers, and organize one manager to be able to handle a lot of those things. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you start trying to get calls from 7 different terminals across 24 hours a day from FedEx, and you've got 7 different people that might be getting that call, you have to organize that. Otherwise, you create confusion internally.
And Tim, there's tools, just to throw some tools, some specific names. At TruckSpy, we use a company called Ring Central for our phone system. So that lets us route calls based on who's online and who's not on the phone. And So when you get a voicemail with us, it means that everybody's on the phone. There's literally nobody there to take your call, but we'll call you right back. Grasshopper, I think, does the same thing as that. So, and they're relatively low cost in terms of
we chose
spend.
to go the 855 number because then we branded it's 855 Oscar Mike. And so then all the FedEx folks remember that number, and it's dramatically simplified managing interaction. Those things took a lot of time. I took every call in my business for 24 straight months, and it's made things a lot easier just doing that. Obviously, I said I use TruckSpy. We use DocuSign to do the workforce documents that you have to use to get new hires on. That's a heck of a lot better than trying to have a driver find a scanner where he can sign something and scan it to you. Something as simple as that. We have an e-fax. I know these things are basic, but man, they are time savers, and you have a systematic way on how you do business. The fact that you have to fax anything to FedEx, and you do, is ridiculous, but so you have to have a way to do it. I use Whip Around. It's a very, it brings some accountability to your program. So those are all some examples of the other types of technology that we use every day.
Those are all great tools. I was going to mention Whip Around. I think when you're looking at different areas of the business, you should be taking advantage of all the technology you can on the safety side. I know drive cam thing is up there. If you're not doing that, you're out of your mind. I think your HR and recruiting process should be as automated as you can. I can't imagine anybody's not using some sort of technology for their payroll and withholding and garnishments and all that kind of stuff. If there's a dispatching process or app out there that everyone should be using in Linehaul, I haven't heard about it. I think Tim's going to try to crack that nut with his package.
We've thought about it too, John. I've gotten that request 100 different times, and the problem is, at least that I've encountered, and maybe Tim has cracked the nut, but everybody wants to do it so differently, and it still, because there's no way to get data from FedEx. It's not like FedEx will send us your dispatches, and so it creates a lot of manual entry on behalf of the contractor. And everybody wants to schedule different. And so we've considered trying to crack that nut, and I've yet to find a good way to do it.
Well, there's not an automated way to do it, right? That's you're going to have to create a manual solution to start with. But I have been writing a daily schedule for my business pretty much since day one, and to the point that if we don't send that schedule to FedEx by a certain time every day, somebody from the hub is calling and saying, "Hey, where's your schedule?" So they depend on it, and our drivers depend on it, and we send it out by email. So that eliminates the need to call and text every driver on everything they're doing and what tractor they're in and all that. And we will have that capability in mygroundforce. Now, the approach that we've taken in mygroundforce is to structure your schedule exactly the way a settlement looks. So you'll be able to compare a run on your schedule and find that exact same run on your settlement. On that, if you're going to Nashville from Birmingham, you'll have a 352 to 371 leg, and when you come back, you'll have a 371 leg to 352 leg, and you'll be able to match that up if you want to. So you'll be able to see in mygroundforce how we do it, and it's very similar to how I do it every day in my business, and it's worked extremely well, and that across 7 different terminals. Hundreds and hundreds of dispatches. I mean, we average almost 1,000 dispatches a week. So we schedule that many dispatches every week via this method. It'll be way easier in mygroundforce. Whatever you did yesterday will carry over today. And so you don't have to redo all that. And you can add the drivers and tractors and change those as you need to, right from drop down boxes, because if you're using all the workflows, all your drivers and available tractors are already in the system, and we know what they are. You cannot double assign a driver. You can't double assign a tractor. These are all things that have burned my hind parts off in the past. So we tried to put those protections into the scheduling tool. So everybody, this is one of the things that you do with the software, right? If you want to do certain types of formulas in Excel, well, there's really only one way to do it, because Excel sold the software, and if you want to do it, you have to do it the way they come up with, right? And they might be a couple of different options, but they all kind of work to the same point. And that's what we try to do in My Ground Force. We have created a solution that will definitely work. Now, it might be a little different than what you're doing, but what you're doing is not automated. It's not saved to the cloud, and it's not repeatable tomorrow. And you can make mistakes, because we have and still do. So back to what John and Flint said about what you have to adapt the way you do business to some of the tools that you select. And the workflows that we have created, and John created, and that Flint created, they work for a lot of people. So it would be you might consider adopting the scheduling the way that we do it, because it will absolutely work. And FedEx in the Southeast loves it, as an example.
Yep. The thing I was going to add to that, because I agree with everything Tim said, is most contractors come from all different walks. Some started driving, some came from finance, some came from different industries. I haven't met a lot of contractors who've said, I'm a programmer by training. And so technology is something that is often not germane to what contractors are used to. And I think everybody probably knows someone who's tech savvy, or maybe someone in the family is their go-to person when the Wi-Fi is not working. And that's great. But understand that in this panel and with other vendors, you've got technology people who probably would want to hear from you if you're sitting there going, I have this thing that we do all the time. There's got to be a better way. And if you call me and you say, how can we improve this? Even if I don't do it, I'm going to point you in the right direction. I'd love to hear from you and try to help you as part of the community figure out how to improve your business. That's why I do what I'm doing. And I suspect Flint and Tim would feel the same way. Yeah. And even if it's as simple as me saying, hey, based on what you're telling me, go get Google Suite. It's the easiest way to automate mail and documents and spreadsheets for yourself, or go get Microsoft Office. But even if we're doing this strange safety thing, but we think it's got legs and we don't know how to automate it, should we build an app? I'd love to have that conversation with you. Maybe I'll turn around and say, hey, let's build it together. Or maybe I say, call Tim, he's working on this already, or call Flint, he's got something in the hopper. We are out here as part of the community, and we want to help you figure that stuff out.
Yep, 100%. I take those calls all the time, offer advice, don't always have the best answer or solution, but happy to try to help you figure it out. So guys, I want to switch gears just a little bit. So John, Tim, we had this Contractor Expo that Route Consultant put on. That was last weekend. Tim, I know you were there. I wasn't there. I had to attend a shotgun wedding. And so here was some of the feedback that I heard kind of through the grapevine. And Tim, I think you heard this on the floor, is it would be really cool if we had a line haul specific convention every year. And it just so happens that my list of, I think I have the most exhaustive list of contractors. We've got about 1,250 on our list. And so this was brought up to me as can you, Flint, help organize a line haul summit of some kind, right? Yeah, line haul summit. That's what we're going to call it, because Spencer's already the Contractor Expo. And Tim and John here on the call are kind of working with me on that. We're trying to start maybe putting some pieces in place to host that in 2022. A couple of goals I think that we have, and this is switching gears completely from technology, but a couple of goals is it would be really cool if contractors could have a forum. We could share best practices. We could share business processes, just like what we've talked about today. We could do some trainings. We could have vendors. We could do all this stuff in a line haul specific environment, not mixed with P&D contractors. So we've put together, John and I put together the short questionnaire, and I'm going to put a link to it here in the webinar. Take a minute if this sounds like something that's interesting to you, if you think, hey, it would be really cool to have an annual convention, click on this link, help us out by filling out this short questionnaire. We're going to use your answers to help inform our decision making and our planning. Obviously if everybody jumps on there and says, no, I wouldn't attend, we're going to move on with life. But the goal of this is to say, what are you most interested in seeing out of a convention? When should we have it? Where should we have it? What should it cost? Who would you bring? all of those kind of questions. We think it is 100% possible to plan one for sometime next year, and it would probably be a great lot of fun, probably a lot of work for a few of us, but a lot of fun for everybody. So,
Hey, Lynn,
Kathy says she needs permission. Let me check.
I tried it too, and I need permission.
Uh-oh, I have done something. I've done something.
Fresh out of the oven, folks.
I know, literally like 30 minutes before this call.
We'll get it fixed. Bear with us. It should be easy to make it public.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. If I can figure it out.
I don't know.
You guys keep talking about technology, and I'll figure this out.
I don't know about you, but that's the first time I've had a bug.
This expo that we just went to this weekend was certainly primarily P&D. Spencer Patton is a really sharp guy, very smart guy, but he's primarily a P&D contractor. So it was pretty clear there that there's a huge need that FedEx has no intentions of filling, where we need to get together and help each other share best practices and how to deal with certain things. For instance, one of the things that we will definitely do in this summit, and we're thinking about putting it in Dallas, because that's kind of the middle of the country, and it's easy to get to Dallas from almost anywhere, all the airport capability that's there, lots of good facilities, etc. For instance, if you get selected for a compliance audit, and you have no idea how to prepare for that, and you don't know what it means, and you don't know what to do, and there's no information from FedEx to teach you what that is. So that's an example of something that we will spend some time on and provide and give you some really good information on how to get through a compliance audit. That'll be one example, and there'll be a million examples of the things that we're going to put together for that summit. And so we're definitely covet your feedback on what you would like to see. There'll certainly be vendors that want to show up and sell you stuff, but primarily the reason for having the summit is to give you a chance to meet other contractors, build some networking, but also learn how to do some things that you're supposed to be doing that you might not even know. And trust me, I found that out many times the hard way. So we're not really competitors with each other. Maybe if we're in the same AIM meeting trying to win the same run, that might be the case. But man, I compete with myself every day. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't mind helping people when I can. I don't have the time to help everybody that asks for it. But in a summit meeting like that, where we can sit down and talk and structure it in a way to provide you the much needed information, that we're looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, and guys, I just updated the link. I had to make it public. Operator error. We all have bugs from time to time, so I apologize. This was hot and fresh out of the oven about 15 minutes before we all got on this call, so I apologize. And John, you think it's editable by anyone now?
Possibly.
Oh, fun. Great. I hope not, but don't edit it, I guess. If you're on this call, I'll play with it when we get off, but I really want to start. Okay, people are still struggling with it, so I'll email it out, guys. My apologies. I was trying to be on the ball today with this link, so I will email it out after the call to everybody.
Well, how
not
about,
only who attended,
how about
but
a
our
quick
whole list.
poll, Flint? See how many people.
Yeah, let's do it.
That would want to attend a summit like that, and would it be? The expo was really one day. Would you want 1 day or 2 days? What do you think? That'll help us plan.
Yep, let's do it. Sorry, guys, a little bit of ad lib. Bear with us.
We do have one person that's happy with the level of automation in their business. I'd like for him to send me his contact information so I can learn from him. He or she. I didn't mean to be presumptuous.
Here we go. So I just put out a new poll. Would you attend the Linehaul Summit for 1 day, for 2 days, or I would not attend? So we're getting 2 days. That's kind of what we wanted to hear. We're thinking a day of vendors and a day of training. And I'm also going to throw out, not to completely ruin my survey, how's Dallas? So Dallas, no, we got to know. There we go. So would love I will send out the survey. It's got a whole lot more cities as options. We were just trying to think of something easy for people to fly to, one-way flight for everybody. So,
and I think,
well, guys,
the thing
go ahead, John.
I emphasize, Flint, we talked about this. We're not trying to do this as a making venture. This is something to serve the community, and there's probably going to be some costs associated with it, and hopefully sponsors will take care of it. But the whole idea is to help the community come together in some way and not do it as a commercial enterprise.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, this is let's get together and swap stories kind of a session. Nobody's trying to get rich here. So, all right, cool. Well, guys, I really appreciate the time. I think that this has been a good session. We'll email out the recording as we always do. Watch for our marketing on our next session for drive cameras. John, Tim, really appreciate you guys. Thanks for bringing your insight to the call today.
Thanks for having me, Flint.
Thanks for having me, Flint.
Absolutely.
Good talking to you folks.
All right. Thanks, guys. I hope everybody has a great day. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.